The Greyhound-style bus pulled out of the depot just before dusk. The road ahead, long and quiet, stretched across the Tennessee backwoods like a ribbon laid across fading maps, the kind of route GPS barely bothered to log anymore. 12 passengers, one driver, and just enough fuel to reach the next major town. Callie Morgan, a nursing student with 2 duffel bags and a dead phone, had taken the seat halfway down, window side. She preferred seeing what was coming, not what she left behind. The passengers were all the usual bus types. A tired couple who didn't speak. A man in his 50s who claimed to be a preacher but never stopped watching people. A young mother with a sleeping toddler. 2 teenagers, heads buried in headphones. An older man scribbling in a notebook. A woman in sunglasses who never looked up. And a heavy-set guy in camo who coughed like he was hiding something. The driver, name tag said, Bo, was stone silent, not unfriendly, just steady. They passed a rusted highway sign sometime near 8 p.m. Welcome to Mason County. Only no one remembered passing out of the last one. Then the fog rolled in. Not mist, not morning dew. Fog, thick, low, unnatural. It poured in from the tree line, swallowing the road behind them and coating the world ahead in dull silver. Callie leaned forward. Shouldn't we pull over? Bo didn't respond. He just flicked on the high beams. They made no difference. The world was gone beyond the glass. Cell phones didn't work. Not even to check the time. Probably a dead tower, the preacher muttered. Or maybe the Lord's keeping us in the dark on purpose. Nobody laughed. The fog grew so thick the bus felt like it was floating. There were no bumps, no turns, just motion. Then, just as quickly as it came, the fog lifted. But what was on the other side wasn't home. Callie stared out the window. They were still on a road, but the trees were wrong, tall, pale, leaning in. And the first sign they passed said, Exit 44, Fog Line, Welcome Center, 3 miles. No one had ever heard of that place, not even the locals. Where are we? The camo guy asked, standing. Bo didn't answer. He just kept driving, knuckles tight, eyes forward. Callie looked out her window one last time. The fog was behind them now, but not gone. It followed, slow, patient, like it knew they'd have to come back through it eventually. The road stretched endlessly, but now it seemed wrong. The towns they passed were unfamiliar, none of them listed on Callie's phone map, none of them on any of the passengers' worn paper maps. The next exit sign read, Exit 44, Fog Line, Welcome Center, 3 miles. Again, Fog Line. There was no mention of this town anywhere, no reference to anything remotely familiar. Callie glanced around at the passengers, their faces tight with unease. No one spoke. The silence in the bus was heavy, punctuated only by the occasional hum of tires over asphalt. The preacher turned to Callie. Do you know this place? His voice was low, quiet. His eyes, intent. Callie shook her head, trying to hold on to the fragments of memory that didn't feel right. No, I've never heard of it. He didn't seem convinced. The woman with sunglasses who had yet to speak suddenly tugged at her seatbelt. I don't like it. We should turn back. Bo's fingers tightened on the steering wheel, but he didn't answer. His eyes remained fixed on the road, and the bus continued on as if guided by something unseen. After what felt like hours, the Welcome Center appeared in the distance. Fog Line, the sign read again, almost mocking them. The town that wasn't supposed to exist was coming into view. The buildings were strange, the architecture outdated, like a mix of 1950s kitsch and rural decay. Everything felt like it was stuck in time, frozen between decades, suspended in a fog that seemed to age things unnaturally. The bus slowed as it approached the small lot. A diner with a cracked neon sign flickered dimly. Next to it, a gas station with peeling paint sat, unused. A few old cars were parked in front, but the place was eerily silent. There were no people. "We're stopping here?" one of the teens asked, voice trembling. Bo didn't reply. He put the bus in park. The engine idled, the hum of it blending into the oppressive stillness that seemed to suffocate the town. The doors opened with a hiss, and one by one, the passengers filed off. Callie felt the chill of the air. But it wasn't cold. It was just wrong. The air tasted faintly metallic, like something had been buried too long. She glanced at the preacher, who was already walking toward the diner. The woman with sunglasses, her face now tense, followed behind him. The two teens stepped off next, wide-eyed and hesitant. Bo stood by the bus, hands in his pockets, watching them. His eyes never wavered. Callie hesitated, but followed the others toward the diner. Inside, the air was musty, the tables long abandoned and covered in dust. A faded jukebox hummed softly in the corner, but no one was there. The silence was oppressive. The waitress, when she appeared, was an old woman with wild gray hair and wide, unsettling eyes. Her apron was stained with something dark, though it wasn't clear what. "Welcome to Fog Line," she said, voice soft and lilting, but with an edge of something unearthly in it. "You look lost." The woman didn't wait for a response. She turned and shuffled behind the counter as though she'd already seen them come. Callie exchanged a look with the others. Something about this place felt off. The waitress returned with a weathered menu, placing it on the counter in front of them without a word. We need to get back to the road," Callie said, more to herself than anyone else. The waitress stopped in her tracks. She turned to face them slowly. "The road will always lead you back, sweetheart, but it might not be the same road you remember." Her voice dropped to a whisper, and she leaned forward, eyes gleaming in the dim light. "What do you do when the exit signs lead somewhere you've never been and can't escape?" The question hung in the air like smoke, suffocating them. Suddenly, the hum of the jukebox grew louder. The air shifted again. The temperature dropped. The bus's engine growled outside, and for a moment the world felt like it was shifting, like the ground was slowly tilting, pulling them somewhere far deeper. The bus driver, Bo, appeared at the door. "Everyone back on the bus!" he barked. His tone was harsh, but there was something oddly urgent about it. Without a word, the passengers turned and filed out. Callie felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. The fog was coming back. But it wasn't just outside. The fog was seeping into their minds. As they boarded the bus once again, Callie felt something inside her shift. A tension settled into her chest, and the air inside the bus was thick with uncertainty. The door shut with a hiss, and the bus pulled out of the lot, leaving the eerie town behind. But the sense of something wrong, something incomplete, lingered. The fog had returned, but this time it didn't feel like it was just outside. They drove for what felt like another hour. No one spoke. The bus hummed like a living thing, steady and low, as though it were part of the road itself. The windows were streaked with condensation, but the fog outside never fully cleared. It just hovered, always on the edge of visibility. Callie sat forward, watching mile markers tick by. First one read, mile 17. Then, mile 17. Then again, mile 17. Okay, is anyone else seeing this? She finally said aloud. Jordan, one of the teens, pulled off his headphones and blinked. Wait, didn't we pass that diner like an hour ago? Claire, the woman with sunglasses, finally took them off. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying. We're looping, she muttered. This road is folding in on itself. The preacher crossed himself and didn't say a word. Callie turned to Bo. You have to stop the bus. We need to figure out what's going on. Bo didn't take his eyes off the road. Not my job to stop, just to drive. You're driving us in circles, she snapped. No, Bo said flatly. The road is the circle. The camo man stood up in a panic. This is some kind of military test? Government gas? This ain't normal fog. Before anyone could answer, a road sign flashed by the window, different this time. Exit 0, end of the line. But no one saw an exit. There were no off-ramps, no crossroads, just 2 narrow lanes and endless forest. They stopped at a rest area. It hadn't been there before. It was too clean, too still. The vending machines glowed faintly, but the snacks inside were all off-brand. No logos, just blank labels. The bench had a newspaper on it with no date, just a headline. Arrivals expected, departures unknown. A man named Davis, older, quiet, no one had really talked to him, walked to the edge of the lot and looked down a side trail that cut into the woods. I think I see lights down there, he said. No one else saw anything. Callie warned him not to go, but he smiled faintly. I've been lost before. Not scared of it anymore. He stepped into the trees. They waited. 5 minutes. 10. Jordan called out for him. Nothing. Bo honked the horn once, like a last call. Davis never came back. Claire stood by the vending machine, staring at her reflection in the plexiglass. We're not supposed to get off. Why not? Callie asked. Because the road isn't what's trapping us, Claire said quietly. We are. Back on the bus, Bo drove on. The radio flickered for a moment, just a single burst of static, and then a voice cut through. Not music, not a station, just one word. Rerouted. The radio died, and the fog closed in again. The fog thickened again as the bus cruised forward, slower now, like it was hesitating. The passengers were silent, every eye locked on the windows, waiting for something to shift. But when the next shift came, it was inside. Callie awoke from a doze with a jolt. The seat across the aisle, which had been empty, now had a man in it. Mid-40s, gray jacket, pale skin, neatly combed hair, shoes polished like he'd just come from church. He smiled at her, too quickly. Sleep okay? Callie blinked. Were you here before? He tilted his head, almost amused. We've all been here before. The rest of the bus began to stir. The mother with the toddler looked up and frowned. Who's that? Claire stood slowly, narrowing her eyes. That seat's been empty since we left Nashville. The preacher glanced over and muttered a verse under his breath. The man in the gray jacket leaned forward, speaking as if to the group. I'm just going where the road takes me, same as you. Jordan tried the driver again. Hey, Bo, you let someone on at the rest stop? Bo didn't respond. Bo? Callie called. Still nothing. The driver was stiff, focused, hands on the wheel, eyes on the white line. The stranger spoke again, softer this time. You shouldn't bother him. He's just the vessel, not the guide. Callie turned to him sharply. Who are you? He smiled. Not who. When. The lights flickered. The engine sputtered just for a moment, like it hit a pothole in time. When the lights came back, the man was still there. But now, he was sitting closer. 2 rows back. Claire snapped. That's it. Pull the damn bus over. She marched toward Bo, reaching for the controls. The stranger's voice cut across the cabin. If you stop, you stay. Everyone froze. The child in the back began to cry. The mother pulled her close, whispering reassurances she didn't believe. Claire froze near the front, one hand on the rail. Her voice shook. I saw this once before, years ago, thought it was a dream. Callie stared at her. What? A road. Fog. A town with no name. I got off. I left someone behind. The stranger stood, slowly. No one had seen him move. It was like he'd always been standing. She remembers. That's good. Memory is your ticket back. He turned to Callie again. You're the last one who forgot. That's why the road brought you back. The fog outside had thickened again, pressing against the windows like steam. The bus lights began to flicker more violently now. The road signs were unreadable, blurred, distorted, like they were in another language. Or time. Claire turned back from the front, shaken. He's not a passenger. He's a conductor. The man in the gray jacket sat down again, in a different seat again. He crossed his legs neatly. There's no conductor. There's only memory. The question is, who brought what with them? The lights flickered once more. The stranger vanished. Only his seatbelt remained, clicked into place, and the bus rolled on down a road no one had ever seen.
The bus slowed as the fog began to thin, revealing a stretch of town that looked almost normal. Streetlights, a gas station, a diner, but none of it moved. No flickering signs, no cars, no people. Like a set built for a movie and then abandoned mid-shoot. Callie pressed her hand to the window, squinting. That's not even glass, she whispered. Claire leaned forward. The buildings weren't weathered. They were flat, like cardboard. Shadows were painted on. Trees didn't sway. A flag on a pole was frozen mid-ripple. It wasn't a town. It was a memory of one. Staged, incomplete. The bus passed another sign. You are still en route. Remain seated. That's not a dot sign, Jordan muttered. That's like a warning label. Callie's eyes widened. They don't want us off the road. Up ahead, they passed another sign. No town name, just coordinates. 42 degrees, 36 minutes, 0 seconds north. 88 degrees, 24 minutes, 0 seconds. West. Population. Drifting. Claire scribbled the coordinates into her notebook. They don't match anywhere on the map. Because this place doesn't exist, the preacher said quietly. Not anymore. Suddenly the bus hit a bump, hard. Everyone jolted. Claire nearly fell out of her seat. The lights flickered. A different town emerged ahead. It was darker here. The trees were skeletal. The sky was no longer overcast. It was completely black. Only the road beneath them glowed faintly, like it had been painted with phosphorescent lines. They passed a sign. Now, entering you. Callie's breath caught in her throat. What the hell does that mean? It's trying to show us something, Claire whispered. Trying to get inside. The child began to cry again. The mother shushed her, but even she was shaking now. Callie got up and walked to the front. Bo's face was expressionless. Bo, where are we going? Same place we always go. Which is where? He blinked. Back where, Bo? Where you got off before? Callie staggered back as if slapped. She looked around at the passengers. Their faces flickered just for a second, like old tape skipping in the VCR.
She saw herself, younger, on a foggy road, a wreck, a bus in a ditch, her mother screaming, a hand reaching for hers and slipping. She gasped. "I've been on this road before." Claire nodded. "That's why you're still here. You never made it out." Another town came into view. No name, no people, just a single stop sign at an empty intersection. Callie turned to Claire. "What happens if we try to get off again?" Claire answered without looking at her. "Someone always takes your place." Behind them, the man in the gray jacket had returned, smiling, watching. The man in the gray jacket sat in the back row now. No one had seen him board. No one had seen him move. He was just there. Callie kept her eyes on him. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't age, just smiled. Claire stood suddenly and walked to the front of the bus. "Bo, pull over, we're getting off." Bo didn't respond. "Now," she snapped. Bo finally turned, slowly. His face was pale, slick with sweat. "Can't, not here." "Why not?" "Because this part of the road doesn't let you stop." The lights flickered again. Outside, the road began to shift, subtly at first, then violently. The lines on the pavement twisted, spiraled, rearranged themselves like a spinning compass needle trying to find true north and failing. The trees leaned in. And then, without warning, the bus slammed to a stop. Passengers were thrown forward. The child screamed. The preacher shouted a prayer. Smoke rose from the wheels. The engine hissed. Silence. Bo was slumped over the wheel, unconscious. Claire ran forward and checked his pulse. "He's breathing. Barely." Callie stood, eyes wild. "We need to go. Now!" She pushed the door release. It hissed open. Outside, the road was black, wet. The fog circled the shoulders like wolves. But they stepped off anyway. Jordan, Claire, the mother and child, Callie, they all moved as one, desperate and trembling. They walked down the empty highway, fog curling around their legs, swallowing their footprints behind them. No signs, no sounds, no stars. Just the faint echo of their own breath and the flickering of the bus lights behind them. Then came the footsteps. Not from ahead, from beside them, from within the fog. The preacher turned, squinting into the gloom. "Who's there?" a voice answered. Callie's own voice, whispering back, "You already know." They turned and ran. Down the road, away from the bus, away from themselves. But it didn't matter. 5 minutes later, they came upon it again. The same bus, idling on the side of the road. Bo slumped over in the same position, headlights glowing like eyes. The door stood open. "It's a loop," Claire whispered. "A memory trap." "Then how do we break it?" Callie asked, her voice nearly cracking. The man in the gray jacket was standing on the steps now, smiling. "One of you doesn't belong," he said. "One of you made the choice." They all turned toward each other. The mother pulled her child closer. "What does that mean?" "Only one of you asked to come back," he said. "And the road obeyed." Callie felt the blood drain from her face. The crash, her mother's hand, slipping free. She remembered now. She had let go. "I didn't want to die," she whispered. The man nodded. "And so, you didn't. But that choice has a price." From the fog, another bus pulled alongside theirs. Identical, but empty. Waiting. "It's time," he said. The second bus idled beside them, its doors open, its headlights cutting into the thickening fog like twin knives. It was spotless, untouched, too perfect. Bo still sat slumped in the driver's seat of the first bus, barely breathing, lips moving as if mumbling in his sleep. The man in the gray jacket stood between the two vehicles, hands folded like a host welcoming guests to their final judgment. Two choices, he said calmly, his voice somehow louder than the silence around him. One road leads forward, the other leads back. Claire took a step forward, eyes narrowing. Back to what? Another loop? The man smiled. Back to forgetting, back to drifting, back to the road. And forward? Callie asked. His smile faltered. That's unknown, painful, permanent. The child whimpered again, and the mother held her tightly. Jordan stood beside them, shaking his head. This is a trick. All of this, none of it's real. All of it is real, the man said softly. Just not all at the same time. Callie looked at the others. Their faces were pale, tear-streaked, lit only by fog and fear. She saw them for what they really were. Ghosts of decisions never made. People suspended in regret. Souls stuck on a road with no end. And now, the end had arrived. The man gestured to the new bus. This one only fits one. The others must choose to stay or vanish. Vanish? The mother asked, trembling. Memory fades. The road moves on. Nothing stays forgotten forever. Callie stepped forward. She looked at Bo, then at the others. I remember what happened now. The crash. My mother. I let go. I ran. Her voice cracked. I got out. But something in me stayed here. Claire nodded slowly. And now, the road wants payment. The man extended his hand. You were the first to choose. That makes you the key. Callie turned to the group. If I get on that bus, do you go free? No, the man said honestly, but you'll never see them again. There was silence, and then Claire smiled, sad but true. Let her go. We've been here long enough. One by one, the passengers stepped back. The preacher made the sign of the cross. The mother whispered a goodbye. Jordan nodded, eyes glassy. Callie climbed the steps of the new bus. The interior was empty. No seats. Just fog. It curled at her feet and up her spine like a blanket of memory. She turned back one last time. Thank you. The doors closed. The man in the gray jacket watched, then faded into the mist, like he was never there at all. The bus began to move. No engine, no wheels, just motion. It drove forward into the white, and then vanished. Back on the roadside, the first bus sat empty. Fog swallowed it whole. One by one, the passengers blinked and began to fade. Some into light, some into shadow, all into something else. The road remained, and somewhere, far off, a new bus rolled out of a depot. Just before dusk,